On my first cruise, I made more rookie mistakes than I care to admit. A few were harmless, but some, they cost me in ways I didn't see coming. What really gets me though is that years later, I still see first-time cruisers making those same exact mistakes. The kind that can quietly derail your trip before it even begins. But not you. Not this time, because I'm laying it all out there. What to watch for, what to avoid, and how to cruise like you've done it a dozen times before. You've got one shot at your first cruise, so let's skip the regret, save some money, and make it one you'll never forget for all the right reasons. Hey y'all, I'm Evan with Family at Sea, where we help make every cruise unforgettable. Whether you're gearing up for your first sailing or just want to make sure you're not missing something obvious, this video is designed to help you avoid the mistakes that cost new cruisers time, money, and peace of mind. By the end of this video, you'll know what rookie mistakes give you away before you even step on board, what decisions people regret as soon as they get on the ship, and the one thing nobody talks about that could quietly wreck your cruise if you're not ready for it. If any of that hits a nerve, stick around because I'm walking you through everything I wish someone had told me before I ever stepped foot on a ship. If you're ready, I am. Let's go. Picking your cabin might feel like a small detail until you spend a week living in it. On my first cruise, I made the classic mistake of booking based on price, not location. I didn't realize we were right under the pool deck, and every morning at 6 a.m., lounge chairs scraping above my head, and it was not ideal at all. Wait, Evan, that's a thing? You can actually hear the chairs from inside your room? Oh yeah, and that's just the start. You've got engine noise, nightclub bass, crew areas, and even anchor chains on some ships. Before you book, check the deck plans. Look for cabins that are sandwiched between other passenger decks above and below your room, as well as on both sides. You definitely want to avoid having a room next to crew areas or service rooms, or even worse, a bar, lounge, something of that nature. What looks like a deal up front can turn into a noisy, sleepless regret if you don't check. One of the biggest myths in cruising is that booking direct saves you money. But here's the truth. If you're booking through the cruise line's website, you're paying more and getting less. They only show you the public pricing. What they don't show you are the exclusive discounts, onboard credits, upgrades, and hidden perks that are out there if you know where to look. But what if you could get a better price, bonus perks, and real support when things go wrong, and it didn't cost you anything extra? That's exactly why I book through Cruises It. You don't pay them, the cruise line does. And cruise lines do it because they know great travel agents deliver a much better experience than they can. And a great travel agent makes you more likely to come back again and again, and that's worth something to the cruise lines. Cruises It unlocks perks you can't get on your own, backs everything with a low price guarantee, and uses their cruise fare watch system to track price drops even after you've booked. And if plans change or something goes sideways, you're not stuck on hold with a giant call center. Cruises It handles it quickly and like it actually matters to them. Use the link in the description below if you prefer to book things on your own, or call the number on the screen and let them know Evan from Family at Sea sent you, and they'll roll out the red carpet for you. Cruise fares can look like an incredible deal until the roll calls start piling up. Gratuities, drink packages, Wi-Fi excursions, specialty dining, it adds up fast. And for first-time cruisers, it catches most people completely off guard. You think you're booking a $1,200 vacation, but once you add in all the extras, you're staring down $2,000 or more, and that's before you've even had your first drink. Now, I'm not saying don't splurge. You're on vacation, enjoy it, but go in with eyes wide open. Before you book, look up what's included and what's extra. Then set a realistic budget for what you'll actually spend on board, because it's hard to relax when every pina colada feels like it's coming out of your kid's college fund. Embarkation day is chaotic. The terminal is packed. There's lines everywhere, luggage flying, and you're just trying to get on the ship without losing your mind. And this is where a lot of first-timers make mistakes that can ruin their trip before it even starts. Like putting critical items in their checked bag, things like medications, boarding documents, and yes, even passports. Wait, Evan, if my passport's in my checked bag, what happens? What happens? You don't board. The cruise line has to track down your luggage, and you're stuck waiting while everyone else is heading on board and grabbing poolside drinks. So here's the rule. Whatever you need for the first 6 hours, keep it in your carry-on. Boarding documents, IDs, medications, valuables, swimwear, whatever. Don't roll into embarkation day like you've already made it, because you haven't until you're on the ship. One of the smartest things you can do before your cruise even starts, join the Facebook group or online roll call for your specific sailing, not just the cruise line or ship in general. Just hop on Facebook or Cruise Critic and search for your ship's name plus your sail date, something like Wonder of the Seas, December 15th, 2025. You'll usually find a group of fellow passengers already planning excursions, sharing tips, and answering your questions. And if you don't find one, start your own. These groups are gold mines. You'll get real-time updates, packing suggestions, port advice, and even heads-ups about things happening on board that aren't advertised. And while you're at it, join one of the groups for your ship too that's not specific to your sailing. Just search for the name of the ship on Facebook and you're going to find a variety of different groups to join. These are great for learning from experienced cruisers, asking broad questions, and seeing what kind of feedback and photos people are sharing. Plus, you might even make a few friends before you sail, and it's always more fun to board the ship already knowing a few friendly faces. When it comes to port calls, a little planning goes a long way, and not having a plan can leave you wasting time, overpaying, or missing out altogether. A lot of first-time cruisers assume they'll just step off the ship and find shops, restaurants, or things to do right there at the port. And sometimes that's true, but other times you'll walk off and realize the port is basically a fenced-in parking lot with a few souvenir stands and really not much else. Wait, Evan, we could walk off the ship and there's nothing there? Exactly, and when that happens, you're stuck scrambling, trying to get Wi-Fi, figure out transportation, or worse, getting funneled into tourist traps designed to overcharge people who didn't come prepared. You end up wasting your day on overpriced shops and forgettable experiences instead of the adventure you were hoping for. You don't need a minute-by-minute itinerary, but you do need a plan. Know what the port setup looks like, what your options are, and what you want out of the day. Because showing up without a plan, that's how great port days turn into wasted opportunities. One of the biggest misconceptions out there is that you have to book excursions through the cruise line, especially if it's your first time in port. And honestly, that's exactly what they want you to think. Cruise line excursions are almost always overpriced, overcrowded, and overly rigid. You're paying more to be herded around in a big group doing something generic with almost no flexibility if it feels rushed or underwhelming. Now I get it. The biggest fear is missing the ship. Most people stick with cruise line excursions because they think it's the only way to guarantee they'll make it back in time. But that's just not true. If you're not ready to book directly with local operators, there's a great middle ground, Shore Excursions Group. They offer better tours than the cruise lines, smaller groups, and a back-to-ship guarantee that gives you peace of mind. Here's the most incredible part that people simply don't know. After millions of bookings, they've never had a single guest miss the ship. But don't just take my word for it. Click the link in the description below and check out their excursions for yourself. The options are incredible and the savings speak for themselves. Here's something most cruisers, especially first-timers, don't realize. When you buy a cruise, you're agreeing to a contract, a real legal one, and most people don't read a single word of it. So when your itinerary changes or your favorite port gets skipped, guess what? The cruise line doesn't owe you anything. Wait, Evan, they can just change the ports and not give you a refund? Yep, it's right there in the fine print. They can swap ports, shorten your trip, even switch your ship if they want to. And legally, you've already agreed to it. Now, most cruise lines don't abuse this, but it does happen. So the takeaway here isn't to panic, it's to manage your expectations. Cruises are amazing, but they come with trade-offs. And the more flexible you are when surprises happen, the better your cruise is going to feel. Packing for a cruise seems easy until you're dragging 2 overstuffed suitcases onto the ship and still somehow forgot the one thing you actually needed. First-time cruisers tend to fall into one of 2 traps. They either pack for every possible scenario and bring way too much, or they assume the ship sells everything and bring almost nothing. Here's the reality. Cruise ship stores have limited options and very inflated prices, especially for essentials like sunscreen, medications, or motion sickness remedies. In your cabin, it's not designed to hold your entire wardrobe. Pack smart, rewear clothes, bring a carry-on with your day one essentials, and double check your list before you zip it shut. A few minutes of planning before you pack can save you money, stress, and a whole lot of unnecessary clutter. One of the biggest mistakes first-time cruisers make, flying in the morning of your cruise. It feels efficient. You save on hotels, you're already packed, and everything's fine until it's not. Flights get delayed, luggage gets lost, and cruise ships don't wait. Wait, Evan, you mean if my flight is late, the ship won't wait for me? Nope, not even close. If you miss boarding, that ship sails without you, and it's on you to figure out how to catch up at the next port, if you can. That's why I always recommend flying in at least one day before. Get to the port city, check into a hotel, and actually start relaxing before your vacation even begins. You'll sleep better, stress less, and won't have to check your watch every 5 minutes at the airport hoping nothing goes wrong. Trust me, a hotel night is a lot cheaper than rebooking a flight and chasing your ship across the Caribbean. Every cruise ship has a pool, and every first-time cruiser assumes it'll be the perfect place to relax whenever they're ready. But the reality? The main pool gets slammed, especially on sea days between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. If you don't have your towel and flip-flops claiming a seat by 7 a.m. at the latest, you're probably out of luck. By mid-morning, every chair is taken, and half of them are reserved with a book and a pair of sunglasses. If you want that prime poolside spot, go early, or plan around the rush and go late in the afternoon when things calm down. You can also scope out less crowded areas. Many ships have a second pool or an adults only section that's way more peaceful. If you booked a balcony cabin, don't sleep on that view. Sometimes the best pool day is just some quiet time with room service and the ocean breeze on the balcony of your cabin. Cruise ships are full of surprises, but one of the best surprises, how many little extras you can enjoy without spending a dime, if you know where to look. First-time cruisers often assume everything on board costs extra, but there are hidden gems all across the ship. Some lines have free room service, complimentary soft-serve ice cream, or pizza at midnight, free game shows, miniature golf, trivia competitions, and even free champagne at art auctions. Yes, really. If you don't check the daily schedule or explore the ship early in your cruise, you'll miss out on a lot of those little, wait, this is free moments. So don't be shy, ask, explore, and take advantage of what's already included. You paid for the cruise, make sure you get your money's worth. If you're worried about seasickness, you're not overthinking it, and you're smart to plan for it now instead of waiting until you're already on board. The first thing to know, where you book your cabin matters. If avoiding motion is important to you, you're going to want to book a room midship on a lower deck. You'll feel it a lot more if you're at the front or aft of the ship or on a higher deck. Once you've got that sorted, there's some additional things you can do to prevent seasickness from rearing its ugly head. I highly recommend packing Bonine or non-drowsy Dramamine and start taking it the moment you notice the ship rocking. If you wait until you're queasy, it's too late. Sea bands, ginger chews, and even green apples can help as well. And if you really want to play it safe, talk to your doctor about a scopolamine patch. It's that little sticker you wear behind your ear. You can also find natural ginger-based motion sickness patches on Amazon, which are a good backup if you want something lighter. I'll include links for that in the description below where you can find the things I personally recommend to help prevent seasickness. But the bottom line is this, you might not need any of it, but if the seas get rough, you'll be glad you planned ahead, and you'll actually be able to enjoy your cruise instead of counting down the hours to land. One of the best parts of cruising isn't just the places you visit, it's the little traditions you only find at sea. First-time cruisers often miss out because they don't even know what to look for. Stuff like sail-away parties, formal night dinners, silent discos, captain's cocktail receptions, and even hunting for cruise ducks, which is a fun scavenger hunt game where people hide rubber ducks all across the ship. Or in our case, 3D printed mini ships of the exact ship that we're sailing on. These are made by a company called minicruiseships.com, and there's nothing in it for me, but there's a lot in it for you and the joy you'll bring to other people if you decide to go that route. These are just made by a young entrepreneur we met on a cruise last year, and we love the excitement that we see it bring to people's face when we hide these on ships. So if you're interested in those, go to minicruiseships.com and check them out for yourself. But with that said, these traditions aren't mandatory. You're not being graded or anything of that nature, but showing up for some of these traditions adds a whole new layer of fun to your cruise. Check the daily planner, ask the crew what's happening, and get involved even just once or twice, because cruising isn't just about where you're going, it's about the memories you make along the way. If there's one thing that can make or break your cruise, it's not the ship or the food or even the weather. It's your mindset. If you go in expecting everything to be perfect, no lines, no waiting, no hiccups, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Cruises are incredible, but they're still real life. Things happen. Elevators get crowded, somebody's gonna talk too loud in the hallway, ports change, schedules shift. The people who have the best time aren't the ones with the fanciest cabins. They're the ones who show up ready to roll with whatever comes their way. They know the difference between a bad moment and a bad trip. So go in with an open mind, a little patience, and a sense of humor when things don't go perfectly. That's how you turn a good cruise into a great one. And make sure your first time won't be your last. Now the bad news. Even after learning all this, some first-time cruisers still end up frustrated. They get stuck on what the ship isn't instead of enjoying everything it is. They miss the fun. They miss the little traditions. They miss the moments that actually make cruising unforgettable. But the good news? You're not going to cruise that way, because now you know. It's not about chasing perfection. It's about showing up with the right mindset, a little flexibility, and making the most of whatever comes your way. And if you want proof of just how much difference that can make, I went on a cruise that a lot of people say is terrible, but I ended up having one of the best times I have ever had at sea. Seriously, the video linked right here will show you exactly what happened and why mindset matters even more than money, perks, or the ship you're on. Click it and I'll show you how a so-called bad cruise can actually turn into one of your best memories. As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, may your seas be smooth and your horizons wide. Bon voyage!